Welcome to the Rensselaer County Regional Chamber of Commerce Connect with Careers Week. I'm Kate Manley, president of the Rensselaer County Chamber of Commerce and your host for this virtual career exploration video series. Thank you to our sponsors, Capcom Federal Credit Union and WB Games New York. Today, we're pleased to be joined by Gary Guy, who is the Director of Transportation at CDTA. Welcome, Gary.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So as we get started, first, let's talk a little bit about CDTA. So can you tell our students a bit about CDTA?
Yes, CDTA is the Capital District Transportation Authority for upstate New York, Albany, New York. Throughout the capital region, we serve 4 counties: Albany, Schenectady, Saratoga, and Rensselaer Counties.
That's great.
We provide it's public transportation for the residents and our constituents throughout the capital region. We have about 60 routes through all the different neighborhoods and communities. We work very closely with our partners, with local municipalities, mayors, the cities, and the state regarding the service we provide. A lot of customer service and.
That's terrific. So what did your personal pathway look like? Because you're now the Director of Transportation, but tell us a little bit about your journey.
My journey began, honestly, when I was like 5 years old. I had a love for driving and things in motion. And as a child, I had my grandmother and my mother used to give me all these Matchbox cars. And starting back then, I used to have cars and move around and build cities and city streets and stuff of that nature. Jump ahead a little bit. We did a lot of traveling as a kid. And a lot of my time was on buses, whether it was long distance or short and local. And I found this fascination with transportation, whether it was local or long distance. And in that, I would I would imagine things, on while we're in motion, going to like Pittsburgh is where I used to go a lot, where my family resides also, and imagine what's in the future or whatever. So it kind of opened up my mind about the possibilities, the interaction with people. New people get on the bus, different types of folks get on the bus, the relationship with the customer and the driver. So back then, I had this fascination about public transit, which I did not know why. I just know I had things with 4 wheels and a big steering wheel and things in motion. So it started there. Jump forward as I got into high school. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go. I wasn't sure. I just knew I still had this fascination with public transit. I had quite a few family members that were either bus operators or in different parts of public transit, whether it's here in Albany, New York, or in Pittsburgh. So somehow, some way, there was a connection there. And I just had fascination with it, as my family was pushing me to do other things like, hey, be a doctor, a lawyer, all the typical things that you hear. They just didn't understand like my fascination with that. And so that's where it was. In school, I was an average student, not sure where I really wanted to go still, still battling the family, pushing me to do other things and what have you. And so I stayed as an average student, and I just have my love still there. Once I got out of high school, tried college. My first year at Albany, some things happened where I did drop out of there, and then I hit the workforce. And one of the first places that I wanted to pursue again is I said, I'm gonna go for it, which was driving a bus. And it took about 2 or 3 times to be interviewed, and I finally got in. And my love for it just came, and it just allowed me to do that. And as I was driving around the community, imagining the things as a child, and then now I'm actually doing it, realizing that this is not a big dream for most, but this is something that I felt there was an accomplishment. It was awesome. It was great. And I had an interaction with our customers, a lot of folks that I knew from the different neighborhoods, friends from school, former teachers, retired teachers that I had in school that were riding the bus and stuff. So I had a way to still connect and be a part of that. And then sometime after my 5 or 6 years as a driver, I decided to explore more. So then I was a driver for 5.5 years between our paratransit and fixed route service, which fixed route is the big buses that you see going throughout. And then I became a transportation supervisor. because I saw that there were some changes going on in transportation, and I wanted to partake of that. So I wanted to be at the table. So there was things that operationally that we were changing, and I wanted to be a part of it. So I became a transportation supervisor. I was in that position for 5 years. That was in as for a supervisor, you have three different roles, whether you're a desk dispatcher, you work as a radio controller, or you're a road supervisor. And in that, I still had a lot of direct relationships with customers and the personnel over on the street, and also at the table for any changes in the industry or an organization that was there. And then in 2005, I became a superintendent. I moved into the management side. Yeah. Something that I didn't intend to explore. I wasn't sure, but as my curiosity grew in my time in each of those roles, I found there was opportunities, and I was like, I could do that. So what I did there is I became a superintendent, and at the same time, I enrolled back into college. So I did online college at Capella University. And, over the span of 6 to 7 years, I just did a class or two at a time because my work schedule was very, very busy. There were a lot of changes going on. So I received my bachelor's degree while I was working my way up through as the superintendent. And I've been a superintendent for 15 years. And just in the last 4 weeks, I was promoted to director of transportation.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So in this new role, what will you oversee as director of transportation?
I do oversee the day-to-day operations, which means everything on the street from the bus service itself. We have 400 plus operators. There's about 40 supervisors. Administrative staff for transportation department alone is about 15. The organization itself is about 720. There's a maintenance department, there's the IT department, of course, human resources and finance, and various other departments. So it's a nice sized organization, and 720 employees. About 100 are authority staff, and then the rest are bargaining unit, which are the union folks in the different capacities that they work. We deal with a lot of, we work with a lot of customers, and like I said earlier, with a lot of municipalities, contractors. There are contractors we have that carry out some of the things that are our service designs. So when you see new shelters, or you see that we changed the routing, the network, there's a lot of folks that we work with outside of the organization in those areas. So, I'm at the table with all that as well, along with our senior staff, taking direction from our senior staff and our CEO and the board. So there's all these different levels that's there, and I'm right here, like third step down or fourth step down in there in the middle. So like the liaison, the middleman between the upper management and then what actually happens on the street. And again, that's four counties, and it's a very, very busy but exciting job.
That's awesome. So you talked a little bit about some of the skills or what you do on a daily basis, but if you were a student looking to have a career with CDTA, what would you recommend as types of skills they should work on?
The skills, it's really know yourself as a start, right? And I know that's not a skill itself, but great communication, and and good writing skills, right? You don't have to be the best, but as long as you can, your writing skills are good, and you work every day to improve upon that. However you do that is great to have. You always want to make sure that you'll be able to transfer your thoughts to those and answer questions before the questions are even asked. So when you're writing something, like, hey, what are they going to ask me, or anything like, so just being in a position to know how to write your thoughts, and don't be afraid to critique your own thoughts or have someone else critique it, and come back and revise it and change it. But communication, writing skills, in this case with public transportation, I always thought it was great to be a people person, because there is customer service aspect to it. It's very huge, and how to connect with those that you're serving. It is a public service, and we like those to keep that in mind. It's just not a job where you get a check and there's a disconnect. Our service relies on ridership and how we treat the public, and how we design our service throughout the region. So those are the three things I will go with. Being proactive in anything that you do, not reactive. Being a problem solver. We say around here a lot, if you used to like puzzles, and especially the like 1,000-piece puzzles. If you like those type of things in transit, we have that a lot. There's always a lot of problems to solve. There's a lot of suggestions, and how can you build it into the network, into the design of the service you have. So if you're that type of person, those are kind of things that you have, and you can be successful here as long as you're open to comments, and I don't like call it critique, but just feedback, and walk away from that like, okay, I can learn from this person, learn from that, and I can take that feedback and build upon it and make this a better product, whether it's writing or verbal.
That's terrific. So I know that you started as a bus operator, but it seems like there's a lot of different opportunities at CDTA and a lot of different pathways that exist in your company. So what are some of the other jobs that you might be able to have if you got involved with CDTA?
Right. We have a huge IT department. We have about 6 or 7 IT administrators. They oversee some large applications, which our communication network, our communications application is called INIT. It's our information technology communications systems, and that is what the tool that we use to communicate with operators. Has navigation, there's a lot of engineering behind it. Navigation, detours, we can put in live detours for the operators, so that if there's a fire event or something and we need to send immediate change to that, this device, it goes to the co-pilot, which we call on the bus, that the operators use to, so, okay, instead of us calling over the radio, we can send it to them directly, give them the turn by turn. Well, there's a lot of people behind in the background that make that happen. And so IT department is a big department, human resources and finance. We have paralegal, we have a general counsel, we have an infrastructure and facilities department, which has been huge in the last few years, as we've been expanding our service and rebranding our service. You'll see a lot of things on the street with our new shelters and the possibility of opening up hubs, which we call major intermodal stations. Our facilities and infrastructure department takes care of that. Our maintenance department is about 150 to 200 people, I believe. There's guys that they have to keep the buses rolling and clean, and there's a management staff for that as well. And that's just a few. So it's huge, and there's so many different paths you can go depending on what you like to do. So whether it's engineering, whether it's administrative, whether it's in council, general counsel, paralegal, finance, accounting, there's many opportunities.
And it sounds like there's a lot of opportunities for for students, whether they're just right out of high school all the way up to have an advanced degree too. So there's definitely pathways, which is awesome.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about, let's see, how your business has been impacted by COVID-19 and the pandemic, and some of the things that CDTA has done as to adapt to the pandemic?
The pandemic has definitely had a negative impact on our ridership, but it has also provided us an opportunity to rethink and rebuild how we actually do things. And I say we have thought about the safety of the customer first. And right now we are exploring, and we have a couple of test buses out there now where we put in air purifiers and infiltration systems on the buses. So that the customers feel and know that they're safe, and that that it's not just recycled air anymore. So we're doing things to sanitize the buses and to make sure the air is pure. That was something this COVID really took us by surprise, because most transit agencies didn't have that. There's other industries that have this stuff in place. So we kind of looked at what they did, their business model, and then now how we can apply it to transit. And so that's what we're doing now. So we really started with the buses, because again, they're our customers, our ridership, and then also our facilities. So that really took us back. We had to really sit back and go, hey, this is about customer service. What can we do to make sure everyone feels safe and to get the ridership back? And this is something that we feel they deserve, and that really had the impact on. So it's that, and then of course the relationship with our own staff and our employees and operators and stuff. So that was it was kind of the take back, because everyone's trying to deal with the the pandemic itself, and how we have to hone in our skills to how to understand and what our employees are managing, not just ourselves. So when you come to work, you kind of put yourself to the side, and you got to think of where they are and what can you do for your staff. And that takes a skill to to really put yourself aside and to do that and know how to connect with them. Not everyone is the same, so it does take a skill to how to communicate to different people in different ways. Not everyone interprets everything the same, so you really have to know your staff. You really have to have a relationship with them, and you got to really, in order to show that support and that leadership, you have to be able to adjust and adapt to whether it's a person or a group or changes in your organization.
That's great. So what's your favorite part of your job?
Ooh, favorite part of that is actually coming to work, coming here every day, knowing that, going back to when I was a child, that
Yeah.
I'm actually in the area that I thought I would be. That my family's also now like, you said you were going to do it. We didn't understand, but they realized that where it took me, starting off with my love for that as a child and taking it here. I love working with the organization because there's a lot of changes that we made in the last 15 years alone. I have been a part of that, and to some degree, whether it's on committees or just having to learn my business, my craft in my department, and be able to, from an operation perspective, give that input for conceptual designs that they have for the organization and how we fit that. Because and nothing's done alone. So everything is
Right.
done in different committees and groups. And if you perfect your craft, if you prepare yourself, you look at what your role is, and also open to working with peers and to expand that, that's what is gratifying to me. Every day, I try to find something to make sure before I leave here today, I've been productive in some area, right? And there's that's how I kind of define success in the end, is that, okay, these are my goals for today. I met those goals, but there's always a bigger goal. And so these little goals today basically supports the goals, whether it's professionally for myself or for the organization, and we get there. So I guess a lot of gratification from that. Just making sure that I could kind of represent both groups, employees when it needs to be, and also the customer when it needs to be. So you wear different hats, and I like that variety.
That's awesome. And you took my last question right from me about how you define success. So that's awesome. So if you, one last question, if you were, what advice would you give to a student that's looking for a career in transportation, or is interested in cars and trucks like you were when you were younger?
I mean, that's a good question. I would say, they, if they know, they basically, kind of think of who they are, what they like to do. And if you like dealing with groups of people and you like challenges, public transit will definitely give you that. If you're interested in that, you just understand that it's not just just a one job position where there's opportunities here. So even if there's one of the students that they're not sure what they want to do, but you have some interest in public transportation, you can come in, and you don't have to come as a driver. You could come in as a call taker. And I forgot to mention that group. Sorry about that. But you come as a call taker while you try to figure out where you want to go. And then in that, we have here in our HR department, there's opportunities for you to expand and figure out where you want to go. So we do like the mentorship program or career laddership, and then we'll help you build there. And then if you end up in a position where you would like to move further, we also have tuition reimbursement. So we have a lot of different ways to help you to help you grow professionally, personally in there. So if you're interested in that, and you can think about the opportunities there. If you want to become an attorney, you can work here, get to know the industry, and then work your way up to become an attorney that focuses on public transit.
Yeah.
And they author, they look at contracts that we have with our contractors, make sure the contracts is written well and it protects the company and serves the needs of the community. So there's so many different angles. When people just see the bus, they just think it's the bus, but there's so many other parts of this business and industry that you can go many places. And then outside the organization, we are a part of other associations like the NIPTA Association, the APTA Association. NIPTA is more of a state association, New York Public Transit Association, and APTA is the American Public Transit Association. So there you have many opportunities to train, learn, and get some more professional development in that as well, and networking. And there, that it opens up the door to so many other areas. So I've worked my way up to director. I don't expect that this is going to be my last stop. I plan on moving up further.
I love it.
So it's like, this is success for me right now. I've reached one of my successes, but now the success goalpost has been moved a little bit further because I have this here, and it'll give others the same. If they follow the same suit, you'll see that your success always changes. The goal at least does, and so once you reach here, you're accomplished and you feel happy. Like, what's the next thing I want to do? So you start working on that. So I'm just a month in as a director. I still got time to learn all this about the director roles, but I tend to take every opportunity there to build upon that so it moves to the next level.
Well, congratulations, and thank you for joining us. Thank you to our sponsors, Capcom Federal Credit Union and WB Games New York. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.